Originally, I planned on uploading one episode secretly, quietly, without much of a notice, and then I realized that that's probably not a great idea, mainly because I know most people don't really read the community tabs, the comment section, so they'll probably just end up being confused on why I uploaded a episode that isn't part 7. So I'm just going to make a tiny little video explaining about what is DRVC and why you honestly don't need to worry about a thing. So I guess a fun fact about me, when I feel like I'm burnt out by working on one project, what I like to do is to work on a different project. Some people feel like that's counterproductive, but the thing about me is that I tend to be more productive if I'm being productive. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically, whenever I take a break on stuff, I get too lazy that I just can't enjoy the break because I feel bad about being too lazy. So I feel a lot better when I'm working on something, which, again, like, I'm not overworking myself, but that's just how I am as a person, I guess. I'm not actually burnt out in terms of for R0, but I am still like a type of person where I just prefer not to get burnt out. And again, the way how I stop myself from being too burnt out on a particular project is to work on another project to kind of balance it out. For me, being burnt out isn't from like overworking. A lot of times it's just that I feel uh, fuck, creatively burnt out. Like I'm focusing my creativity on one thing when I should be focusing on everything. I really don't know how to explain it, but that's kind of again how I am like a person. And for the past couple of months, there has been like this idea in my head that I thought would be like really fun to do because R0 is the project that is not only my main series as of right now, but it's like a project that I put a lot of time and effort into making, and I am always trying to improve on it, but I am working pretty hard on the project. I think that should be obvious by now, but because I'm like being maybe not responsible is the right word, but like because I'm putting like so much of my time and effort into this project. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of like I also want to work on a side project that's not something I need to take seriously on, like something that could be a little bit more lax and not necessarily lazy, but just like I don't need to put as much effort into it, but I'm still being like productive because I don't know. I guess for me, being productive makes me feel better. Uh, I think that is true for most people. People like the feeling of being productive, and I definitely enjoy the feeling of being productive. There's not too many things in my life that brings me joy, but it is one of them. And well, now you know why I like to upload like crazy because of it makes me feel a little better, to be honest. Anyways, before I keep rambling off topic, so in the back of my head, I had this thought for a while about like, what if it was kind of like I was wondering if anyone else has done a D&D Danganronpa type of roleplay like before. I was like thinking about that, and then I was thinking about like how you would translate D&D stuff in Danganronpa and like mesh it together. And then I thought like, maybe you guys actually don't know. I don't know how many of you guys actually like D&D. I'm going to be honest, I'm relatively new to it. But I always knew about it for a long time. But like there's like a community that really likes D&D podcast, and I kind of thought that was cool, and I actually like the idea of like mixed media fangans. I like the idea of people trying different mediums to show off or express their fangan stories. Like I think that's really cool. And I kind of just thought, okay, well, what if I kind of just like make something that's, like I take a bunch of stuff, beat it up with a crowbar, glue it back together, and be like, I made a baby, look at it. And that's kind of what happened, I guess. And I also thought about how, like, well, first of all, it is experimental because I'm just playing around with stuff, and it's also going to be very, like, free writing rather than pre-planned writing. R0 is like really pre-planned. There's there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into R0, but the new Fangan that I'm making, DRVC, that one is going to be just like a freestyle writing. Basically, I mean, it's kind of like with like D&D where I would create a setup. So I'm also kind of like the dungeon master and the player, and I'm also working alone for now. This might be a project where I have some friends that like D&D, so I might be like, hey, you want to role play with me? I might, maybe, just maybe, but yeah, I kind of just like again when oh fuck, I'm getting off topic. What I was saying about the free writing is kind of more like I set up something. I have right now one character, and then de- depending on like what the character's doing, I'll roll a dice, and I would basically decide the fate of the storyline based off of the dice roll. So yeah, it's actually kind of fun because normally I like to do a lot of like super pre-planning writing, so it's kind of nice to try a little bit of a different type of writing where I'm less in control. Hooray. Yeah. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that I mentioned this before. I believe it was probably in the Q&A. I'm not sure, but I mentioned that I tend to like go unscripted for videos, and you can tell that this is unscripted. But I tend to go unscripted because my line reading, when I'm trying to read off of lines, sounds absolutely terrible. It's trash, absolute trash. And I want to improve my line reading, and I feel like by turning DRVC into a mainly kind of like a podcast, and I say in quotation marks because there are, I'm going to have drawings because I'm an artist. So, of course, I'm going to slap some art in there. But I'm also using DRVC as a practice so I could get a little bit better at line reading because I don't know. I might be one of those people that works best with the brute force method. That if I suck at something, I just have to continue practicing until I suck less. That's just I don't know. So I feel like turning it into a kind of like a podcast series and me reading off the script because what I do is that I role play with myself. uh, and then like I'll roll a dice and I'll write down what happens, and then I'll write more like a proper script based off of what happened during the role play, and then I read off from the script, and then I make a podcast where there's some images, very bare minimal editing, and then that's it. That's kind of like the idea. That's kind of the plan that I'm going for. uh yeah, so the new project that I mentioned, it's really more of just a fun project that's also kind of a project for me in a way, because I'm definitely using this experimental project to help improve myself, to, yes, to improve myself, but also to uh, help me balance with my creativity burnout and also to help me feel a bit more productive. So I'm like, what, killing three, four birds with one stone? Is that a saying? I think so. Yeah. So yeah, that was the project that I mentioned in that post in June 7th, 2020. I made an update post on YouTube. That's what the post was about. Yeah. Hopefully I do see an improvement with my line reading though, because like I said before, my unscripted reading, while it sounds a bit more natural compared to my line reading, I speak very scatterbrained. I stutter a lot, uh, cause like I'm thinking about what I'm trying to say, but like I need to take a pause to think, and then like my voice is all over the place. So like I sound very unfocused when I'm unscripted, but at least I sound a little bit more natural speaking while I'm line reading. I'm not like I'm not unfocused, but my goodness, it sounds absolute trash. It's terrible. Uh, I know I probably shouldn't like keep insulting myself, but like it really isn't good. Like I'm trying to improve on it though, so that's the positive side. I like to try to improve. Again, I mentioned this on the post, but I'll mention it here for those who don't read the community post. I said that R0 is my priority series and that DRVC is just a fun, kind of like a side series, and you don't have to worry that R0 is like going to get canceled or whatever. That's not a concern. Hell no, I'm not going to cancel it here, obviously. But like I don't want people to start panicking thinking that I gave up on R0 and just started working on a different project. It's really more like, believe it or not, I like to work on multiple projects at the same time. And throughout the entirety of R0, I have been working on different projects that I kept hidden in the shadows, but I do like to, present projects because it makes me feel better. So again, it's just like, don't worry, VC is not going to take over R0. It's like, if podcasts and my terrible line reading is not something you find entertaining, you don't have to watch it. It's not going to become like the main series. R0 is going to be the main until it ends, and then there's the sequel, which I have mentioned before. That one's going to be the second main series when it comes out. Probably towards like the end of R0. But yeah, I like to work on multiple projects at the same time. Don't worry, I'm not overworking myself. It's really just more of me taking care of my creativity burnout. Yeah, I'm not going to keep repeating that, but like, yeah. Shut up, Ray. Just end the video. Stop rambling. Uh, Good night or morning or whenever you watch this. Uh, it's actually not in the AMs right now, but had I continued rambling, it would have been.